Welcome back to more FPL content. This will be the predicted lineups for Game Week 2, and speaking of which, these are my scoreline predictions for the upcoming deadline. I will be going live around 2 hours before the deadline on Friday, and that's where we have West Ham vs Chelsea, the opening game of Matchday 2. I've gone for West Ham 1, Chelsea 3, Manchester City 3, Tottenham Hotspur 2, Bournemouth 2, Wolves 2, because the Cherries haven't beaten Wolves at home since 2015 when they were both back in the Championship. Brentford 1, Aston Villa 2, Burnley 0, Sunderland 0, Arsenal 2, Leeds United 0, Crystal Palace 1, Nottingham Forest 1, Everton 1, Brighton 2, Fulham 0, Manchester United 1, and finally Newcastle 2, Liverpool 2 on Monday night. That should be an absolutely fantastic game considering the context going around throughout the summer and the Alexander Isak saga, and we also got a free thriller at St James's Park last season. Let me know your predictions down in the comment section below, and I'll be showing my final set of scoreline predictions in the deadline stream tomorrow. The same goes to the top 10 captains, also the heat maps, team weaknesses, and much more. That also includes the clean sheet odds and stuff like that, so you're well prepared for the upcoming deadline and the rest of the season. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, and also hit the notification bell so you're always up to date with my content, whether it's for FPL or UCR Fantasy, and you will see some videos and live streams very soon for the Champions League. The game was released several days ago, and the fixtures will be confirmed on the 20th of August. Check all the links in the description for my Patreon and the Championships, fair likes to my videos, amongst many other perks. The Discord server, FPL League and Spotify can also be found in the description. And let's get this video to the 200 likes on YouTube, and we're getting ever closer towards 35,000 subscribers. But without further ado, let's jump straight into it. This will be done in alphabetical order, just like last time. So Arsenal are up first. David Raya in goal was superb against Man United in that 1-0 victory, making 5 saves, claiming maximum bonus points, and winning the official Man of the Match award. I think Calafiori will start at left back, but don't be surprised to see Lewis Skelly get a start in that position, as Arsenal would look to overload that midfield against Leeds United, who will likely sit back deep and try to frustrate Arsenal. Gabriel and Saliba should also start, but I think Mosquera can sometimes start these kind of easier games on paper, so to speak, but Leeds will offer plenty of threat on the counter-attack. And I think Jurrien Timber will be the right back for Arsenal, with Ben White missing the open training. I went to that session and there were some interesting things to note, with Madueke and Saka alternating on either side. So we saw Saka on the left and Madueke on the right, and the likes of Kai Havertz also missed out, Christian Norgard as well, and of course Kai Havertz will miss the next couple of weeks to months with an injury, and that has paved the way for Arsenal to sign Erebici Eze, which will be a fantastic acquisition for the Gunners. I don't think he'll start in Game Week 2, I think it's fair to say that. He's going to play on Thursday night in the Europa Conference League in a final farewell for Crystal Palace, and for Saturday, in order for him to be registered and available to play against Leeds United, he has to have his medical completed by 12 PM on Friday. So with Eze expecting to start against Liverpool away for Arsenal, and that was a great transfer saga, you could say, with twists and turns. It looked like it was going to go to Tottenham, and all of a sudden Arsenal came knocking. It shouldn't take an injury to a key player like Kai Havertz for Arsenal to finally show some ambition and flex their muscles in the transfer window, but at least something positive came from a bad situation. In the midfield, Zubimendi, Odegaard and Declan Rice should be the starting three in most games this season. I think Madueke will start on the left-hand side, but Martinelli has scored against Leeds United in the past. Saka will be on the right, and Gyökeres, his minutes will be more secure now following that injury to Kai Havertz, but the likes of Trossard, Martinelli and Marino can also play up front, so I don't think he'll play 90 minutes, but I think closer to 70, 80 minutes will be the kind of expectation this time round. And Arteta said in an interview with ESPN Brazil that the best penalty taker at the club is Victor Gyökeres, and several reports indicate that the Swedish international will be on penalties for the Gunners. That's something I discussed from pre-season, so Odegaard and Saka will be the secondary and tertiary takers for the Gunners. In terms of the fixtures, it doesn't look great, and that's why Arsenal are ideal on a free hit against Leeds United at home in Game Week 2, but then it's Liverpool away, Nottingham Forest at home, Man City at home, and then Newcastle away. But the likes of Gabriel and all these Arsenal defenders, David Raya in goal, will still be great options for your FPL teams. And it's worth highlighting that Gabriel Jesus remains injured and he shouldn't be back anytime soon. The second team covered in this video will be Aston Villa, and we should see a change between the sticks despite a solid performance on his debut by Bizot. The Frenchman did very well against Newcastle, but Emi Martinez is now back from suspension, but just as he returns, another key component of that defensive line is out through suspension in Ezri Konsa, and he should be replaced by Tyrone Mings, who will partner Pau Torres in central defence. Matty Cash on the right will be a popular replacement for Ezri Konsa in FPL, and Luca Dean versus Maatsen will be a constant headache throughout the season. I think Tielemans and Kamara will start in central midfield, and as correctly predicted in the deadline stream, I expected Onana to start, but this time round with Villa struggling offensively, we could see them shift a little bit and have Daniel Marlin in the lineup. The same goes for Buendia. One of those two could enter the fold, but I think Morgan Rogers will be with John McGinn, and they can alternate, of course, in terms of the central positions and on the left, and Ollie Watkins will start up front. As highlighted in all of my videos, he has a brilliant record against his former club with 6 goals and 2 assists in 7 matches against Brentford in the Premier League. In terms of other things worth noting, we could see Aston Villa change formation as well. They have played a 4-4-1-1 before, and a 4-3-3 is possible if they go a bit more offensive with Onana dropping out, but I think this 4-2-3-1 has been quite fixed for Unai Emery, and the long-term fixtures remain brilliant, and they are top of the FDR, the fixture difficulty rating, until Game Week 8. The third team is Bournemouth, who lost 4-2 in that amazing game against Liverpool in the Premier League opener, and Diakate came straight in, which is something I kind of questioned in my videos, but in the deadline stream I put him in my final team, so always be sure to check out those streams before the deadline, because that will be my final set of predictions for these lineups. Petrovic in goal is quite certain in my opinion, and Truffert had a good performance against Liverpool. I think he's my favourite Bournemouth defender at this moment in time. Senesi will partner Diakate in central defence, and I think Araujo will start over Smith, who I correctly predicted to start against Liverpool in Game Week 1, but I think over the course of the season, Araujo will be the first choice right back. In central midfield, it should be Scott and Adams, with Semenyo and Brooks on the wings, Tavernier as the attacking midfielder for now, and Evanilson up front. Now, Dango Ouattara has joined Brentford, and Kluivert is back in training, so we could see the Dutchman start over Tavernier in Game Week 2, and Christie is expected to train this week. He missed Game Week 1 due to short-term injuries, so he could also be back. Lewis Cook is suspended for the first 2 game weeks, so he'll be available against Tottenham in Game Week 3, and Enes Unal remains injured for the Cherries. We're now going to go on to Brentford, and they face Aston Villa at home, of course, in Game Week 2. Kelleher and Schade no longer have yellow flags, and of course, the Irish goalkeeper did start in Game Week 1 after a very poor performance, I think, from the Bees overall. Coyote and Rico Henry should be the fullbacks, with Collins and Vandenberg in central defence. I think Henderson will partner Jensen, but we could still see Yarmolenko start, and maybe it will be Jensen making way. Fabio Carvalho on the right, Kevin Schade should be on the left, and then Damsgaard, who missed Game Week 1 due to personal reasons, he just had a kid. That's why he comes back into the fold over Malambo, who is a promising talent, of course, signed from Feyenoord, and out front Igor Thiago, who scored Brentford's only goal in Game Week 1 from the penalty spot. Wissa will likely leave, of course. As we all know, he is heavily linked with Newcastle. He's really pushing for that move, and Dango Ouattara has been signed in a record-breaking transfer for the Bees, but it's likely that he'll come on as a substitute at first, and then we'll see him start over Fabio Carvalho from Game Week 3 onwards when they face Sunderland away from home. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you think Henderson will start over Jensen or Yarmolenko, or will Brentford keep the same midfield pivot? And we could even see Malambo play as a winger, which he has done time after time again for Feyenoord in the Champions League and the Eredivisie. But the next team is Brighton, with Verbruggen in goal and Vifa as the right back, De Kuyper on the left, and Lewis Dunk and Van Heck partnering each other in central defence. Baleba and Ayari is quite fixed in the midfield, Minter on the right, Mitoma as the left winger, and O'Reilly, who scored the penalty for Brighton, won by Jorginho Rota, who should play up front, and Danny Welbeck could be a substitute once more. My favourite option from Brighton is Jorginho Rota at 6 million. He's got the goals and assist potential. The minutes aren't exactly secure, and O'Reilly was linked with Juventus throughout the summer, which kind of put me off going for that sort of pick, but that would make Jorginho Rota a little bit more nailed on in the grand scheme of things. And overall, Mitoma is still a decent choice, but he hasn't really shown the preseason form, with only 1 goal throughout the summer, and in Game Week 1 he wasn't exactly the best in FPL terms. With Burnley, we could see them play this 4-2-3-1 formation, which they have played in most of pre-season, but against Tottenham, it was a back five. I would expect Martin Dubravka between the sticks, with Walker and Hartman as the fullbacks, Ekdal and Estev in central defence, with Cullen and Lawrence in the midfield, Miebri, Edwards, Jadon Anthony and Lyle Foster as the forward line facing Sunderland at home, and we could see Ogochukwu come on as a substitute and push for a start very soon. With Burnley as well, they could start Brun Larson, but I think Edwards will enter that fold. He was the outstanding player in pre-season with 3 goals in those friendlies, and the long-term fixtures aren't great. But Chelsea has some promising games on the horizon, at least for the next 4, and they do face West Ham, Fulham, Brentford and Man United. So Fofana has removed all of his Instagram posts related to Chelsea, and it suggests that he will leave the club very soon. Esteval looked very sharp as a substitute, and he could earn a start over Gittins, which would cause some kind of shifts in the winger positions. Badiashile and Lavia are ruled out, so Sanchez will be in goal. A back 4 of James, Achimpong, Chalobah and Cucurella, but I wouldn't go for Achimpong at 4 million because I expect Chelsea to sign a centre-back, and if Tosin does return fairly soon, then I think Achimpong will drop back to the bench. And with James, we could see Gusto start plenty of games at right back, so I would be a little bit careful about that pick, and we all know his injury record. Of course, Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo is a very solid midfield partnership, with Esteval on the right, Neto on the left, and Palmer just behind Joao Pedro. I think we'll see Gittins drop to the bench and Neto move from the right winger position to the left, where he is a bit more direct and dangerous, and Esteval has looked very sharp in pre-season. I think he'll start very soon, and it could be against West Ham on Friday night. Next up, though, is Crystal Palace, who will be without Eze. He's going to start for them in the Europa Conference League, but surely a move to Arsenal is all but done now. We got the Here We Go by Fabrizio Romano. Dean Henderson in goal, a back 3 of Richards, Lacroix and Gay. It's a very stable starting 11 for Crystal Palace, but several of their players, like Mark Gay, have been linked with moves away throughout the summer. Daniel Munoz and Mitchell as the wing-backs, Wharton and Hughes in the midfield as Kamada is still injured, and I think it'll be Sarr, Mateta and Deveni. Now, we could also see Roman Esse take Eze's spot, but I think it'll be Deveni. We've seen that happen a lot towards the end of last season, and also in Gameweek 1 when a substitution was made and Eze was brought off against Chelsea. So I think that's the way Palace will set up now, and their short-term fixtures aren't great against Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa, but after that, it certainly turns with the likes of Sunderland at home in Gameweek 4 and West Ham away shortly afterwards. So I think Palace are still worth investing defensively, and if you want to go for an attacker, it's between Mateta and Sarr, depending on your needs in the midfield and forward line. We also have Everton, who were very shaky on Monday night against Leeds United. They lost 1-0. Jordan Pickford will be the goalkeeper, of course, with O'Brien, Tarkowski, Keane, and I think Garner will start at left back if Mikalenko remains out. Eric Bonham and Gay in central midfield, with Ndai and Grealish on the wings, Dewsbury Hall just behind Beto, but we could see Tiano Barry start very soon. If it's not against Brighton at home in Gameweek 2, then it should be shortly afterwards, but Mikalenko got injured in the final preseason game and was subbed off after 12 minutes, and in the case of Grealish, he came on as a sub in Gameweek 1, and I expect him to start very soon. If it's not now, it should be against Wolves away in Gameweek 3. But we also have Fulham, who play a 4-2-3-1 as well. Bernd Leno in goal, Tete, Joachim Andersen, Cuenca and Bassi should be the back 4 if Sessegnon and Robinson remain out. So Robinson underwent surgery back in May, but he's not ready to return just yet, and Sessegnon got injured in the final preseason game and remains a doubt. So watch out for the press conferences, and any updates that are provided by Marco Silva and all Premier League managers will be relayed on this channel during the deadline stream. Sandenberg and Lukic will be in that midfield alongside Josh King, a 4.5 million option in that position, and he'll play as an attacking midfielder over Emil Smith-Rowe. Harry Wilson on the right, he scored 5 goals in pre-season. Iwobi on the left, and the most interesting decision of them all is up front between Raul Jimenez and Rodrigo Muniz, who scored the equaliser against Brighton, and I think Jimenez will get the nod, but it isn't a guarantee, and Rodrigo Muniz has been linked with multiple clubs from Italy and England throughout the summer. One of them was Leeds United, who signed Dominic Calvert-Lewin, of course, but Fulham will face Man United at home next, then Chelsea away, followed by Leeds at home and Brentford at home. So things are looking quite decent in the long term. Now, speaking of Leeds United, they could shift to a back five against Arsenal, and Biol is now back from suspension, so we could see him partner Rodon and Struijk if Leeds decide to go more defensive at the Emirates. But over time, I think Leeds will play a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3 more often than not, and we'll see Struijk make way for Biol to partner Rodon in central defence. But for now, I think Leeds won't make any changes from that 1-0 victory against Everton. So Perry will be in goal. Bogle, who was yellow flagged before the Gameweek 1 deadline, will be the right back. Goodmanson on the left. He got maximum bonus points against Everton. Then the likes of Ampadu, Tanaka and Stack in the midfield. James and Nonto on the wings. And Piru should start up front, but Dominic Calvert-Lewin could get the nod very soon. And Leeds don't have great fixtures, of course. After Arsenal away, it's Newcastle home and Fulham away. But after that, it gets a little bit better. And their fixtures aren't as bad as Burnley on paper. But we do have Liverpool, the Premier League champions, who won 4-2 in the Premier League opener. Alisson in goal is quite a certainty. He is quite an injury-prone goalkeeper, but still one of the best in the business. Frimpong and Kirkes as the fullbacks. Kanate and Van Dijk in central defence, and I think there'll be one change in the midfield with Gravenberch back from suspension. He got that red card in Gameweek 38 last season against Crystal Palace, so he missed the Premier League opener, but he should partner McAllister in the midfield, and Salah, Wirtz, Gakpo and Ekitike should pose Newcastle plenty of problems at St James's Park. But we could also see Gravenberch take the place of McAllister and Szoboszlai starts, or one of Wirtz or Gakpo drops out. I don't see Salah making way, and I think Ekitike will be the starting striker. But let's say, for example, that Gakpo makes way for Gravenberch. Then we could see Ekitike on the left and Florian Wirtz as the false nine. So Liverpool have plenty of options, but they still need one more attacker after losing several of them, of course, throughout the summer. And Luis Diaz hasn't been replaced just yet as the left winger, even if you have a bad opinion of him. The fixtures are quite mixed bag over the next four, with Newcastle away and Arsenal at home up next. But then it's Burnley away in Gameweek 4, which marks a nice shift and swing in the fixtures for Liverpool. And I think long term, they still offer a lot of value in Fantasy Premier League. The saying goes, for the rotation Pep Roulette field, Manchester City side, and Trafford will be the starting goalkeeper. Rico Lewis versus Matheus Nunes is tough, but I think Lewis has been really impressive in the last two games against Palermo in a 3-0 win where he got an assist, and he did the same against Wolves with yet another assist and 11-pointer in a 4-0 victory. Stones and Diaz should be the first choice central defence partnership whilst Gvardiol is out, and Aït-Nouri will get plenty of game time on the left-hand side. Nico Gonzalez, Reinders and Bernardo Silva is the likely midfield three, and I think Marmoush will start over Doku in Gameweek 2, but they can also coexist together. But I think Oscar Bob offers something a little bit different to all the other Man City wingers, and he was a massive loss when he got that long-term injury towards the beginning of last season, and Oscar Bob is highly rated by Man City fans. Erling Haaland is up front. He should go up in price very soon, maybe by the time we get to Friday or Saturday, as people sell Salah and Palmer, or at least one of them, and then go towards Erling Haaland as their premium of choice. Foden, Savio, Edison and Gvardiol all missed out in Gameweek 1 versus Wolves, and it's worth keeping an eye out for the press conferences, even though Pep doesn't always give too much away. And I think the biggest debate really is Marmoush versus Doku, but Man City are always difficult to predict. And just when you think, yeah, I've nailed it, 11 out of 11, let's go, no, Pep Guardiola has something else in mind, and your FPL assets are benched. With Man United, I think they'll make one change in the goalkeeper position, with Onana taking the place of Bayindir, but the defence looked quite solid against Arsenal, especially De Ligt, who had a great performance overall. He should be alongside Yoro and Shaw, with Amad Diallo also taking Dallow's spot, and then Dorgu on the left. He looked lively, and he hit the post against the Gunners. Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro is a decent midfield partnership. They did the job against the Gunners as well. Mbeumo, Mount and Cunha should be the starting front line until Sesko is match fit and he can start games for the Red Devils. And in that case, Cunha will drop a little bit deeper to the left inside forward position, and then Sesko will be the main striker for Manchester United. Now, Lisandro Martinez is a long-term absentee as he's still recovering from an ACL injury, and I believe Man United should sign a goalkeeper, and they still need one or two more players to, I think, cement themselves as a top team. With Newcastle, Nick Pope will be in goal. Trippier, Schär, Burn and Livramento is the likely back four, but the likes of Botman and Lewis Hall were on the bench, and we could see them get a start against Liverpool at home, and the most likely of them would be Lewis Hall at left back, and then Livramento shifting to the right-hand side Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes and Joelinton is one of the best midfields you'll see in the Premier League, and the front line would consist of Elanga, Barnes and Gordon, who had the most shots of any player in Game Week 1, and Newcastle players could be worth the investment from Game Week 3 onwards against Leeds away and Wolves at home, but for now, when they're facing Liverpool on Monday night, I think they can get a result, but in FPL terms, it's not the right time to invest, and you can find better value elsewhere. Nottingham Forest could be one of those teams facing Crystal Palace away, and of course it'll be a Palace side without Eze. Then it's West Ham at home, followed by Arsenal away, but that's compensated by Burnley away in just a couple of weeks' time. Matt Sells, Aina, Milenkovic, Murillo and Nico Williams is very stable, and we should see Sangari and Anderson for now, but that could well change following several signings for Forest. That includes Douglas Luiz, McAtee, Kalimwendo and Hutchinson, so expect to see a bit of rotation in some of these positions, but Ndoye and Hudson-Odoi are the starting wingers for now, and Gibbs White and Chris Wood seem fairly nailed on, but of course Forest have plenty of options up front, like Igor Jesus, who could eat up into Chris Wood's minutes, so that's something worth bearing in mind in the long term, and I expect all of these new signings to get cameo appearances in Game Week 2 and 3, but there should be a stable 11 for the time being, and the same goes for a 3-0 victor in Game Week 1 in Sunderland, marking their Premier League return in style. Roofs in goal, Hume, Ballard, who went up in price to 4.6 million after a 17-pointer against West Ham, Sealt and Reynildo Mandava should be the defensive line, with Siddiqui, Diarra and Jack in the midfield, Talbi and Adingra on the wings, and Mayenda, who scored in that 3-0 win, he should start up front, and Isidore also did the same thing as a substitute. I don't think he'll break into the fold just yet, and the same goes for Mark Guiu, who is probably third in the pecking order in terms of strikers right now, so he might have to wait quite a while for his opportunity to start, and it won't be anytime soon after that great result there for the Black Cats. It's Burnley away next, followed by Brentford at home, Crystal Palace away, and Aston Villa at home. And I've always said this, Sunderland have the best fixtures of the newly promoted clubs, but no one expected them to demolish West Ham in the way they did. But we do have Tottenham Hotspur, and I expect them to change to a back five like they did against Paris Saint-Germain in the UEFA Super Cup final. Vicario in goal comes in at 5 million. Bedroporo and Spence will be the wing backs, with Danso, Romero and Van de Ven in central defence. João Paulinho, Bentancur and Pape Sarr is the likely midfield partnership, with Kudus and Richarlison up front. Those two combined for 2 goals against Burnley in that 3-0 victory, and one of them was a great overhead kick by Richarlison. And after Man City, I think Spurs will go back to a 4-2-3-1 formation, so to speak, and that was covered, of course, in my recent predicted lineup videos. The same goes for West Ham away and Brighton away, but I think against the likes of Man City, Liverpool and potentially Arsenal, we could see Tottenham Hotspur play a back five and be quite tactically flexible there under Thomas Frank. Maddison will be out for most of the season due to an ACL injury, and I think Richarlison will keep that spot for the next couple of weeks. He's looking really sharp since pre-season, so Solanke should come off the bench in Game Week 2. We only have 2 teams left, by the way, and West Ham is one of them. Their new signing in goal, Hermansen, will start over Areola despite what happened against Sunderland, and I think a 4-point family midfielder could be on the cards here in pots, but in my predicted lineup, I've gone for Todibo, Agerd and Kilman in the defence, Wan-Bissaka and Diouf as the wing-backs, Thomas Soucek and Ward-Prowse in the midfield, but West Ham are looking for a new central midfielder, Bowen and Paqueta on the wings, and Fulkrug up front, but Callum Wilson is certainly knocking on the door, and Fulkrug was poor in Game Week 1. I think that goes without saying, and 2 players from West Ham have gone down in price overnight in Soucek and Paqueta to 5.9 million, but overall, Jarrod Bowen remains a solid option despite some challenging short-term fixtures. And the final squad is Wolves, who lost 4-0 against Manchester City on Saturday. Jose Sarr in goal, Doughty, Agbadu and Totti Gomez should be unchanged. The same goes for Hoover and Wolf as the wing-backs. Joao Gomez and Andre is a fairly decent midfield partnership, and I think this is the most difficult part of this team to predict because there is also Fer Lopez and Bellegarde who could also start alongside one of Arias or Menezzi, maybe even taking the spots of both of them, but I've gone for Menezzi, Arias and Strand Larsen as the front three, and Arias predominantly plays as a right winger, but for Wolves, he has played a few games on the left during pre-season, and we could see that happen again. And against Manchester City, Arias came on as a left winger against the Citizens. So that will be quite difficult to predict. And despite a poor preseason in terms of the results, Wolves will be fairly optimistic because of the next 4 fixtures, which includes Everton and Leeds at home. Hoover is a 4 million defender, but I wouldn't recommend starting him because Rodrigo Gomez could take that spot, and Wolves are looking for a new right wing back after selling or losing Semedo during the summer. I think that loss alongside Aït-Nouri and Cunha will be massive, and Wolves will need to adapt very quickly. Mosquera might not be match fit at the moment, but when he is ready to start, he could replace Doughty in this back three. And if there are any fans of all these Premier League teams with other insights, bits of news in terms of transfers or maybe injuries and lineups, then let me know down in the comment section below. Let's keep the conversation going, and be sure to tune in for the deadline stream for the final set of predictions for all 20 Premier League clubs. That wraps up the predicted lineups for Game Week 2, and of course keep your eyes peeled for that deadline stream where I'll be locking in my final predictions and also the graphics, injury updates, team news, my own team of course in Fantasy Premier League and FPL Challenge. And what you can see on screen is the website fpl.team, where you can see my unchanged squad from Game Week 1. This is the team I started with the captaincy as well and all of that. You can see my Game Week 1 performance, expected points, price changes, and also the kind of transfer plans I've got. Will I be using the free hit or just using a transfer, maybe even taking a hit? There are a lot of different avenues, of course, for Game Week 2, and that's all covered in my team selection podcast. And by watching my wildcard and free hit squads, you'll be well prepared for the upcoming deadline, and you'll know the best long-term transfers, but also short-term punts and differentials for Game Week 2 specifically. Thank you very much for watching this video and listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed it or found it insightful, then like this video, subscribe to my channel, and also hit the notification bell so you're always up to date with my content, whether it's for FPL or UCL Fantasy. Our aim is to get this to over 200 likes on YouTube and to keep on pushing towards new goals like 35,000 subscribers. Follow me on X, Instagram and Blue Sky, DylanRCM, and check all the links in the description. For my Patreon and the Championships, you can find me by typing patreon.com/FPL Dylan. There's also my Discord server, the FPL League, Spotify, and much more. That includes an FPL Challenge League as well. I'll see you on Friday for the Game Week 2 deadline stream, and keep your eyes peeled for UCL Fantasy content.